King's News Broom says I'm Stephen Compton first the headlines. Governor of Liberia through the National Port Authority launches US 1 million fundraising initiative to support the University of Liberia in its revitalization efforts. NPA Managing Director Sekou Dukle says the initiative aligns with the government's arrest agenda. President Joseph Boyka condemns reported change of firearms in Niger, underscores the urgent need for timely and coordinated intervention to prevent further instability in that African nation. A President of Liberia, President Julius Kanamba, pledges the union's commitment to the protection of journalists, freedom of expression, and democratic principle. And away from home, South Africa has expelled Israel's top diplomat in the country for violating diplomatic norms, a move that reported prompted Israel to kick out a South African envoy in retaliation. Details of these developments, the news bulletin, and the actual voices of the news makers are all packaged. We are taking a very short break to be right back. Welcome back and thanks for being there. Up next is the Bulletin of News with Sam Andrews.
The Liberian government, through the National Port Authority, has launched a US 1 million fundraising initiative to support the University of Liberia in its revitalization efforts. According to the government, the initiative is intended to improve campus facilities at the state-run university, including the provision of 30,000 armchairs, renovation of classrooms, rehabilitation of bathrooms, among others. Speaking at the launch Friday, NPA Managing Director Sekou Dukle said the initiative aligns with the government's arrest agenda, which prioritizes the revitalization of the country's education sector. He underscored the importance of strengthening Liberia's education system, noting that improved learning conditions are essential for adequately preparing the nation's future leaders. Director Dukle described the initiative as both timely and necessary for the University of Liberia, emphasizing the government's commitment to supporting institutional and economic transformation. For her part, University of Liberia President Dr. Lydia Mapayan lauded NPA leadership, described the initiative as a historic milestone in the advancement of UL infrastructure. She emphasized that the responsibility for improving the university infrastructure does not rest solely with the institution, but also requires the support and collaboration of other government entities, and stressed the need for all sectors' involvement. President Joseph Boakai has pledged Liberia's unwavering commitment to conflict prevention and the promotion of peace across the African region. Speaking at a high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security in Ghana, the Liberian leader condemned a reported exchange of gunfire and a loud explosion in Niger on Thursday, described the incident as deeply concerning. According to President Boakai, the development serves as a reminder of the persistent security challenges confronting many African countries, including Liberia. He emphasized that Liberia, as a country, understands the devastating cost of violent conflict and underscored the urgent need for timely and coordinated intervention to prevent further instability in Niger. The president of the Press Union of Liberia, Julius Kanaba, has warned that weak enforcement, fragile oversight institutions, and declining political commitment continue to undermine Liberia's access to public information framework, calling for a comprehensive review of the Freedom of Information Act. Mr. Kanumba made the remarks at a high-level stakeholder dialogue on access to public information held under the Liberia Media Empowerment Project in Painesville. He said the country's access to information regime remains largely aspirational, constrained by poor compliance among public authorities and inconsistent support for institutions mandated to enforce the law. The dialogue, organized by the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building in collaboration with the Independent Information Commission and supported by the European Union, brought together policymakers, media practitioners, civil society actors, and legal experts to examine discrepancies between the FOI Act and other key statutes, including the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission Act, the Code of Conduct, and the Civil Service Standing Orders. The majority members of the Association of Judicial Reporters of Liberia has endorsed the findings and recommendations of an investigative panel operating under the auspices of the Press Union of Liberia, intensifying calls for urgent electoral and governance reforms within Liberia's media institutions. In a press statement issued following the release of the panel's report on Thursday, the association described the findings as fair, objective, and reflective of long-standing governance and accountability challenges, particularly within Press Union of Liberia affiliated bodies. The independent panel of journalists and media professionals was tasked with examining leadership and operational issues within one of the union's auxiliary associations. The independent panel journalist report cited expired leadership tenure, constitutional lapses, and financial accountability concerns, and recommended immediate corrective measures, including the conduct of credible elections and broader institutional reforms. Welcoming the report, majority of the Association of Judicial Reporters noted that the investigation and its recommendations were long overdue, pointing to years of unresolved leadership disputes and weak governance structure. Nima County representative and political leader of the Citizens Movement for Change, Representative Musa Bility, said Liberia can only experience real progress if the country is led by good and competent president. Representative Musa Bility made a statement during a groundbreaking ceremony for a road construction project in District 3, Grand Jita County. He said Liberia is richly endowed with natural resources, but ordinary citizens continue to suffer due to what he described as betrayal and bad system of governance. The Nima County lawmaker, who is also leader of the Citizens Movement for Change, said his present engagements with Liberians on development issues demonstrates his commitment to national growth. He reaffirmed his intention to contest the 2029 general and presidential elections, promising to bring meaningful development if elected. Representative Musa Bility also assured residents of District 3 in Grand Jita County of improved road connectivity linking nearby cities. He described the road project as a gateway to easing transportation challenges and promoting smooth movement of goods and services in the area. Broom County Senator and head of Liberia's delegation to ECOWAS Parliament, Edwin Snow, has written the Senate calling for the appearance of the Minister of Labor, Councillor Copper, to provide comprehensive breakdown of President Joseph Boakai recently announced 70,000 jobs creation in 2025. Speaking during plenary, during Thursday's session, Senator Snow acknowledged the president's employment claim, but emphasized the need for transparency and effective oversight. The government of Liberia has broken grounds for the construction of a modern Ministry of Justice complex at the grounds of the Capitol building. According to the government, the project is intended to enhance public institutional capacity and improve service delivery across Liberia's justice and security sectors. Speaking Thursday at the groundbreaking ceremony, President Boakai said the initiative will save the government millions of dollars annually spent on rented facilities. He emphasized that investing in permanent state institutions will reinforce Liberia's sovereignty, strengthen the authority of the state, and contribute to national infrastructure development. The 81-year-old president emphasized his administration's commitment to providing full support to ensure the timely completion of the project. He disclosed plans to upgrade other public facilities, including transforming Omega Market constructed by the CDC administration into a standardized market structure. Also speaking at the ceremony, Justice Minister Councillor Oswald Toy described the project as a historic milestone for Liberia justice and security sectors. He revealed that 20 million United States dollars has been secured for the construction of the Justice Complex, adding that it underscores the government's commitment to long-term infrastructure investment aimed at improving public service delivery. The Liberian Senate has concurred with the House of Representatives to ratify the third amendment of ArcelorMittal Liberia's Mineral Development Agreement. The Senate concurrence with the House of Representatives came days after President Boakai issued an open appeal for the ratification of the MDA. There are reports that the president appealed to the Liberian senators or lawmakers to follow a high-level diplomatic talks in neighboring Guinea between a special delegation of the Liberian government led by President Boakai, Nicholas Chakot, U.S. State Department Senior Bureau Official for African Affairs, and U.S. Charge Affairs, Mary Dashback. Meanwhile, Nima County Senator Yan Twine, a longtime critic of ArcelorMittal Liberia Mineral Development Agreement, has detested the third amendment. He noted that his decision to abstain from the Senate vote was driven by the company's long record of non-compliance, not opposition to investment. The independence of the Liberia National Bar Association has come under growing scrutiny following the decision of its president, Councillor Bono Vama, to simultaneously hold its senior government position while remaining head of the country's foremost legal professional body. Councillor Vama, currently serving as chairperson of the Law Reform Commission, a statutory government institution tasked with reviewing and proposing reforms to Liberia's legal framework, also occupies the office of the president of the Liberia National Bar Association, an organization widely regarded as an independent civil society organization and a critical watchdog on issues of the rule of law, constitutionalism, and human rights. The situation has sparked disagreement amongst legal practitioners and civil society organizations who think that Councillor Bono Vaman dual role places the LNBA in a position of potential conflict of interest, political influence, and undermines its credibility as an independent advocate capable of holding government accountable. Finance and Development Planning Minister Augustine Kwengafuan has blasted Liberians for criticizing the government's performance and President Boakai's announced improvement of the Liberian economy during his State of the Nation address. During a media engagement in Monrovia Wednesday, Minister Gafuan, who bragged of the government's $1.2 billion national budget for 2026, ridiculously said, "Should we buy fiscal bread and butter and share it with citizens before you are convinced that the government is addressing the bread and butter issues?" In a more provoking remark, the finance minister further noted that one of his considerations for this year will be to ask the president to create a ministry of bread and butter to directly purchase bread and butter for citizens on a daily basis. Commenting on the government's focus on infrastructure rather than immediate livelihood needs, Minister Augustine Kwengafuan said the opposition is only after criticizing and bent on unrealistic expectations. He stated road construction and rehabilitation are directly linked to economic improvement, especially for farmers and small businesses. And the political leader of Liberia National Union, Dr. Clarence Monimba, has outlined the true test of government's performance lies in not in speeches, but in the national budget. Responding to President Buhari's State of the Nation address, Dr. Maniba argued that while speech sounded positive, the 2026 budget fails to reflect real progress for ordinary Liberians. He questioned claims of 70,000 jobs, noting that it lacks transparency and offers no path to permanent employment. Dr. Clarence Maniba also dismissed claims of economic improvement, noting that despite lower inflation figures, Liberians continue to struggle with high food prices, rent, and transportation costs. He further criticized what he called poor spending priorities in the $1.2 billion 2026 national budget, pointing to low allocations for public colleges and vocational institutions compared to millions set aside for top political offices. He described such decision as evidence that budget favors political comfort over public need. He warned that Liberia's future depends on investing in human capital, especially with nearly 75% of the population under age 35. Dr. Clarence Modiba said, without a shift toward education, skills development, and private sector growth, no speech will translate into progress, stressing that Liberia is too rich for Liberians to be poor.
Sam Andrews and the news bulletin is a regular feature on King's News Broom. 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. One of our top developments, President Joseph Boakai condemns reported change of firearms in Niger, underscores the urgent need for timely and coordinated intervention to prevent further instability in that African nation. We are taking a very short break and we'll come back. We'll bring you voices of the news makers. Welcome back and thanks for being there. With this first development now, President Joseph Boakai has pledged Liberia's unwavering commitment to conflict prevention and the promotion of peace across the African region. Speaking at a high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security held in Ghana, the Liberian leader condemned a reported change of fire and the loud explosion in Niger on Thursday, describing the incident as concerning. According to the Liberian president, the development serves as a reminder of the persistent security challenges confronting many African nations, including Liberia.
This high-level consultative conference on regional cooperation and security is convening at a critical moment when global disorder and uncertainty threaten our collective existence. Threats of the kinds ranging from terrorism, violent extremism, government deficit, transnational crime, maritime insecurity, climate-driven resource conflict, illicit mining activities, proliferation of arms, human trafficking, illicit financial flows, the drug epidemic, unemployment and social justice, unequal access to social amenities continue to challenge our limited resources. Some states are being threatened by non-state actors who survive by anarchy and lawlessness and account to no one. New security fault lines are shaping threats, especially cyber crimes, which we need to pay attention together. Our citizens travel every day, and borders are increasing and becoming non-existent. We as Responsible leaders must respond by embracing the principles of collective security and strengthening regional cooperation and solidarity. This meeting is being held at a time of increasing disruptions in global affairs, from political cooperation to economic integration. We are facing a new era of competition and polarization instead of cooperation. The effect of these disruptions are economic decline. As one key priorities is to advocate for the regional approach to peace building and security. This approach will ensure that the epicenter of violent crisis and terrorism will not be the only focus for international response. Drawing in neighboring countries and regional organizations as part of the response will be a more effective way of dealing with a situation at the epicenter.
Liberian President Joseph Boyka there speaking. Now, the government of Liberia, through the National Port Authority, has launched a 1 million fundraising initiative to support the University of Liberia. It is revitalization effort. According to the government, the initiative is intended to improve campus facility at the state-run university, including the provision of 30,000 armchairs, renovation of classroom, rehabilitation of bar rooms, facilitated among others. Speaking at the launching ceremony on Friday, NPA Managing Director Sekou Dukle said the initiative aligns with the government's arrest agenda.
On behalf of the board, the management, and staff of the National Port Authority, take this time to acknowledge the visionary leadership of His Excellency President Joseph Barker, whose direct agenda has placed people-centered development, institutional renewal, and human capital formation at the core of Liberia's reconstruction strategy. The initiative we launched today is firmly aligned with our national vision, particularly its emphasis on education, skill development, and restoration of dignity to public institutions that will shape the future of our republic. Education remains the most enduring investment any nation can make in its future. The University of Liberia, as the nation's premier institution of higher learning, has for decades carried a historic burden of producing the intellectual capital that sustains our public, private sector, and civic life. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is against this compelling national background that the National Port Authority, as one of Liberia's leading state-owned enterprises, has resolved to act decisively. In keeping with the reformist and action-oriented spirit championed by President Barker and in alignment with our corporate social responsibility mandate, the National Port Authority is honored to lead a nationwide fundraising initiative to mobilize at least $1 million for the University of Liberia. This initiative is aimed at procuring at least 30,000 chairs for our students, rehabilitating essential bathrooms, and supporting urgent class renovation, including critical roofing repairs. This intervention is not charity, not at all. It is a strategic national investment that we are committed to delivering on behalf of the National Port Authority, the business community, all of our stakeholders, and our international partners.
For part, President of the University of Liberia, Dr. Lady Mapaya, lauded the NPA's leadership, describing the initiative as historic milestone in the advancement of UL's infrastructure. She emphasized that the responsibility for improving the university's infrastructure does not rest solely with the institution, but also requires the support and collaboration of other government entities and stressed the need for all sector involvement.
I'm deeply honored and profoundly grateful to welcome you to the campus of the University of Liberia and stand before you today at this historic $1 million fundraiser in support of Liberia's flagship national university, a place that is often referred to as a microcosm of the larger Liberian society. I extend special appreciation to the National Port Authority for its visionary partnership and leadership in convening this noble cause. The theme of today's program, Coming Together to Revitalize UL, is timely, compelling, and a driving force. It reminds us that the future of the University of Liberia cannot be secured by one institution, one sector, or even one generation alone. It requires collective responsibility, shared commitment, and a united belief that investing in UL is ultimately investing in Liberia's future. This fundraiser has a clear and practical purpose. The resources mobilized here today will go directly toward procuring the classroom chairs needed to ensure effective teaching and learning at UL, renovating several classrooms to make them more conducive to modern instruction, and rehabilitating critical bathroom facilities, restoring dignity, health, and comfort to our students, faculty, staff, and guests. All of these objectives align with UL's strategic goals. They are not luxuries. They are necessities. They are the foundation of a functional, forward-looking flagship university. The University of Liberia deserves all this and even more. Today's collaboration between the University of Liberia and the National Port Authority sends a powerful national message. Liberian institutions can work together successfully and selflessly for the common good.
And up next, the president of Liberia, President Judy Kanumba, has warned that weak enforcement, fragile oversight institutions, and declining political commitment continue to undermine Liberia's access to public information framework, calling for a comprehensive review of the Freedom of Information Act. Kanumba made the remark at a high-level stakeholder dialogue on access to public information held on the Liberia Media Empowerment Project. He said Liberia's access to information region that remain largely inspiration constrained by poor compliance among public authorities and inconsistent support for institutions mandated to enforce the law.
Truth telling entails reporting the facts. Then, a key requirement for truth telling is access to information. It is within this context that the PUL welcomes renewed public conversations regarding the strengthening of the access information regime in Liberia. Today's dialogue focused on assessing existing discrepancies within acts, policies, and frameworks. Specifically, the LACC Act, the Core Conduct in the CPR Act in relation to the FOR Act represents an important step. Important because it has been more than 15 years since the FOR Act was enacted. Laws are made within a context and can sometimes appear to be timeless, but at times the necessity of changing conditions can demand review of laws. The current FOR Act, while enabling and progressive, has several limitations and constraints. It is our view that the FOR Act will have to be reviewed to consider its current institutional leadership structures, enforcement and compliance authority, appointments of information officers by public authority and private bodies, and the key questions of exemptions and oversight, as we heard from the panelists. Although the FOR Act provides that the RRC shall be funded by the government through the budget, and that the RRC enjoys operational, investigatory, and regulatory autonomy, and general independence. It must be stressed that such oversight scope and powers are more aspirational. The realities are clear. Successive governments have not adequately supported the operational programs of the RRC. Thus, the Commission remains a struggling entity, and without external support, it may be the case the RRC will be an empty shell. The key question facing the RRC is not necessarily the discrepancies surrounding the in relation to other relevant laws. It is the question of our collective failure to value and use the existing positions of the NPR or
Julius Kanaba is the president of the Press Union of Liberia there speaking. If you're just coming our way, there's a reminder that you're listening to the CPN edition of King's News Broom, 45 minutes of news about Liberia and the rest of our one world. We're taking a very short break. We'll come back. We'll bring you more developments. Welcome back up to this development. Center for Media Studies and Peace Building in Liberia Executive Director Malcolm Joseph has confirmed Liberia's commitment to transparency, accountability, and democratic governance, emphasizing the critical role of access to public information in empowering citizens and strengthening state institutions. Speaking at a high-level stakeholder dialogue on access to public information in Liberia, Joseph described the passage of the Freedom of Information Act in 2010 as a historic milestone for the country's commitment to democracy and good governance.
In Liberia, the passage of the Freedom of Information Act in 2010 and the establishment of the Independent Information Commission marked significant milestones towards promoting open governance and empowering citizens to participate meaningfully in public affairs. Despite these advancements, persistent challenges remain in the effective implementation of the Liberia Freedom of Information Law. These challenges include inconsistencies across legal and policy instruments, weak inter-institutional coordination, limited compliance by public institutions, capacity gaps, and low public awareness of information rights and obligations. As a result, civil society actors, journalists, and citizens often encounter barriers when seeking timely, accurate, and complete public information. Addressing these gaps is essential to strengthening democratic institutions, combating corruption, enhancing service delivery, and building public trust in government. It is against this backdrop that the Center for Media Studies and Peace Building, in collaboration with the Independent Information Commission, is convening this high-level stakeholder dialogue on access to public information in Liberia. This dialogue is being held under the theme under the Liberia Media Empowerment Project that is being implemented by Internews with funding support from the European Union. Retrospecting the Liberia Media Empowerment Project, it is an EU-funded initiative through Internews designed to strengthen the media's role in promoting good governance, accountability, human rights, and democratic participation. The project supports efforts aimed at improving the legal, institutional, and operational empowerment for independent media and access to information in Liberia, while at the same time fostering constructive engagements between state institutions, the media, and civil society. Within this framework, this stakeholder dialogue serves as a strategic platform to advance policy coherence, reinforce institutional collaboration, and promoting reforms that enhance public access to information as a democratic right.
Also speaking at the gathering, European Union Ambassador to Liberia, Nona de Brood has reaffirmed the EU's strong commitment to promoting transparency, accountability, and democratic participation through improved access to public information in Liberia.
To support really the enabling environment for the promotion of freedom of information, of opinion, of expression, and access to information. And to highlight some of the key achievements. So before today, the project has already facilitated 3 stakeholder dialogues across Buchanan, Ganta, and Monrovia, engaging about 250 stakeholders from government, civil society, media, women's group, youth, and community organizations. And we strongly think that those dialogues have already strengthened understanding of freedom of information provisions, also promoted decentralized access to information in rural counties, and we value the high-level participation, including local government leaders, policymakers, legal experts, integrity institutions, and ECOWAS representation. This really shows the broad political relevance. We also value very much the collaboration between civil society and the Independent Information Commission. We also think that this collaboration between government institutions and civil society has also increased awareness on freedom of information. I want to emphasize the words of Malcolm Joseph, the important principles that the European Union stands for everywhere in the world and also here in Liberia. This access to public information is so important for transparency, equality of access, and democratic participation. For us, for the European Union, today's review to work on the definition of regulations and policy to advance in public access to information is really key in the fight against corruption.
A member county District 7 lawmaker and political leader of the Citizens Movement for Change, Representative Musa Beriti, says Liberia can only experience real progress if the country is led by a good and committed president. Representative Beriti made a statement during a groundbreaking ceremony for a rural construction project in District 3, Grangeda County. He said Liberia is really the rich land endowed with natural resources, but ordinary citizens continue to suffer due to what he described as betrayal and a bad system of governance.
We want to say to the people of District 3 and beyond that the CMC will do everything we can to make sure that your suffering is over. I want to assure you that I'm aware as a politician that if you leave election ahead and make a promise, then you know that if you come during election time, if you don't fulfill that promise, then you gotta hold yourself responsible. That's all. But if you fulfill that promise, then in fact you feel entitled. You can tell the people you owe me something because I've done something. In Liberia, the Liberian people, the people of District 3 should not, the people of District 3 should not be asking an individual to fix the road for them. Your country is making enough money. Your country makes $1.2 billion now. Your country is making enough money to fix the road for you with no problem. The only way to fix the country is to put a president that knows exactly what is wrong with the country. And there's no other way around. You got to ask yourself, all of us, why am I voting for this president or that president? Just answer it. I'm not going to answer it for you. So we are here to introduce the CNC to you as your development partner. Many people, like Honorable Johnson was saying.
And coming up very shortly is our foreign development, but this development sets the page. Broom County Senator and head of Liberia delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament, Edwin Snow, has written the Senate calling for the appearance of Minister of Labor Cooper Cra to provide comprehensive breakdown of President Joseph Boycott's recently announced 70,000 jobs creation in 2025. Speaking during Tuesday's session, Senator Snow acknowledged the president's employment claim, but emphasized the need for transparency and effective legislative oversight.
This communication is only asking the Ministry of of Labor, to come here and give us a breakdown of the 70,000 jobs. So let the Minister of Labor come and tell us the 70,000 jobs we created in 2025. Here is the breakdown of the 20,000 jobs, of 70,000 jobs. It's, however, important to note that a few days ago, the Ministry of Information called a press conference and told the world that some of the data in the president's address was wrong. Yes, he said it. So this Senate or this legislature must have the courage, the spirit, and the balls to call on the president to either resubmit his report to this legislature. Right now, this parent already, the official platform of the government has informed us that the president report to the legislature was based on falsehood, that the information in there was wrong. So, tell him, man, can you me to my job? I mean, the point nobody informed 5 years, he's like a sharing squad, man. He's like you can't do that job, man. Oh, you want to sharing squad? You got 15 more seconds. No problem, he just
Broom County Senator Edwin Snow there speaking. And now away from Liberia, South Africa has expressed Israel that expelled Israel's top diplomat in the country for violating diplomatic norms, a move that prompted Israel to kick out the South African envoy in retaliation. The diplomatic route started when South Africa's Foreign Affairs Ministry declared Israel charged did affairs at the Israel embassy personal granted and gave him 72 hours to leave the country. Hours later, Israel announced a similar action against South Africa's ambassador. Relations between South Africa and Israel have been frosted since South Africa accused Israel of genocide against Palestinians at the International Court of Justice, a charge Israel has rejected. South Africa accused Sunday of accusing the USA's official social media platforms to attack Ramaphosa and inviting Israel's official to the country without permission. The two expelled diplomats were their respective countries' highest ranking representatives, as there is no Israeli ambassador in South Africa, no South African ambassador to Israel. On this note, we'd like to say many thanks to our news writers and editors, reporters for making today's news presentation a success. Sam Andrews was here with the news bulletin. Newton Toba Sarah Control, Tavinan Do control the camera. I'm Stephen Compton. Thanks for listening and watching.